So I grew up in the military culture. And then in 1981, I decided that's what I wanted to do as well. I joined the military. So I spent 20 years, 20 years in, starting from 1981 to 2001 until I retired. During those 20 years, I spent, almost 10 years as a Delta Force operator, 5 years in 3rd Special Forces Group as a Green Beret, and about 4 years in 82nd as an infantryman and as a scout. I retired just before 9/11, about 6 weeks prior to that. And at that point, I had already started my own business. So I'd started business before I retired, and then 9/11 happened, and it was a security company, and it just was perfect timing for me. So I started doing, I got involved in the nuclear security world, doing nuclear energy security. And then concurrently, I got recruited by the government, called OGA. And I spent 9.5 years with them as a paramilitary operative, pretty much doing the same thing I did as in the unit, but with a lot more autonomy and making a lot more money. And I did that till about 2011. And then from there, I decided to resign for a couple of reasons. One, I ended up getting basically recruited by a Discovery Channel. Literally, they discovered me. And so I ended up on TV with Discovery Channel on a TV show called One Man Army. That led to NBC calling me. And I ended up on NBC, Stars Are in Stripes with Terry Crews. And then one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I'm in Hollywood, for a couple of years doing TV shows, movies, and things like that. I didn't really, it was okay, but it's kind of weird, man, the Hollywood scene, because in order to really be successful at it, you need to live in Hollywood. And I didn't want to live in Hollywood. I didn't want to live anywhere in California. Sorry, I just that's not. Those people are crazy out there. But for the most part, so I said no. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to. Being a TV actor, movie actor wasn't really something that was on my agenda. And I literally ended up packing up and moving to Hong Kong. And I lived in Hong Kong for a while, running a bodyguard detail or security detail for a multi-billionaire investment banker. And so while I was there, I met my wife. My wife's Indonesian. And anyway, she ended up coming back to Indonesia. I ended up following in Indonesia. One thing led to another. We ended up starting a company in Jakarta, and then turned around and moved to Bali. And we basically run the same company down here in Bali. It's a security company. We do explosive canines, detectors, narcotic detector canines, patrol attack dogs, security guards, consulting, pretty much anything related to security. But really, the thing we do the most is canines, for Marriott hotels and some of the local venues and things like that.
Can we go back a little bit back to like Grenada or Grenada? How do you pronounce it? Is it Grenada or Grenada?
Grenada. Yeah,
So
Grenada.
what was that like for you? And you're the first veteran from that conflict I've ever met, actually. So I want to hear a lot about that.
Yeah. So the way the story goes was, at that time, I was in 82nd Long Range Reconnaissance Platoon. And I was going through Recondo School. So at the time, they had a school, it was like a mini ranger school. And it was called Recondo. And you got the patch that, it's triangle, blah, 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 blah. You do all kinds of cool stuff like patrolling and, rappelling and all the, ranger stuff. And so I was out at, I think we were at Camp McCall when this happened. And it was freaking cold. So it was October, Fort Bragg. And I remember one morning, we had a formation. We're all standing there, think we're getting ready to go for a run or something, and all of a sudden, the commandant had us all in formation. He goes, "Okay, if I call out your name, report back to your unit." I'm like, huh? Right. And you could hear all the jets flying around above us, right? And Pope Air Force Base. So they actually had fighter jets on station for air security, right? And so we knew something was going on, but because we were out in the woods, we weren't quite sure, other than report back to your unit, take your stuff, go back to your unit. And so, all right. And then that's when I found out, oh crap, invasion of Grenada, right? Here we go, right? Invading Grenada. And so October 3rd. And we're talking about the Russians in Ukraine. So I go back, and my platoon had already deployed. They were already gone. They had gone to the island of Grenada, right? And so I show up, and I think there's maybe like one guy left, right? I can't remember who it was, Op Sergeant or something like that. I'm like, man, I want to go. like, oh, the platoon already left. I go, yeah, but I want to go, and I want to link up with my platoon. So I ended up getting on a C-141, and I was escorting a pallet of batteries and radios and stuff like that. And so they were told I'm on my way, and the airplane landed at Point Salinas. It's the airfield, and it was late in the evening. So the 141 lands. I got all these pallets with all this equipment. I'm expecting, somebody to be there to pick me up and then take me to, the mission support site, wherever my platoon was hunkered down. And I get there and there's nobody there. And basically everybody had to evacuate the airfield before it got dark. And so there's no activity on the airfield all during hours of darkness. It was only in the morning airplanes would land, engines running, offloading, and take off again so they didn't get shot down. So I'm sitting there with all this crap. Nobody's there with me. And there's like two guys there. And one's a lieutenant. He's the airfield commanding officer, right? And he's like, hey, man, you can't stay here. It's getting dark. You got to go back. You got to go to your unit. I go, I don't know where my unit is. I don't know where I'm at. Nobody's here to pick me up. He goes, well, you can't stay here. I go, where am I supposed to go? I mean, this is just a Grenada, am I just supposed to go walk off in the jungle, and like, well, and he insisted I couldn't stay there. But I had no way of communicating with anybody that I was there. So I'm like, well, damn, you're telling me I got to go. I can't stay here. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where the bad guys are. It's Grenada. There's jungle everywhere. So I said, okay, can I at least have some magazines with ammunition? So he gave me some ammunition magazines. I loaded my rifle and off I walked into the darkness of Grenada. I literally walked off into the darkness. Didn't know where I was going, right? And so I got on this one dirt road and I just kept walking and walking and walking, hoping that somewhere along the way I'd run into somebody that can go, here's your unit, whatever. And I walked all the way to St. George, which was the capital. And before I got into St. George, I got a little nervous about it. I was like, man, the activity here is kind of weird. And I'm on this dirt road. And I go, I don't think I want to go in here. And so I turned around and I'm walking back. If you can imagine, it's pitch black on a dirt road, jungle. And, and it's just me. And I'm thinking, man, I could get killed out here and nobody would even know it. They might not even find my body, So I'm walking and walking. I'm walking for a while too. And I forget what time it was, but it's getting pretty late at night now, about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden I hear, halt, who goes there? And I recognize the voice. It was a guy named Sean Pearson. Pearson was one of my soldiers in my LRP team. I go, Sean? He goes, Sergeant Comstock? And it was like, oh my God, you're hugging. Oh, yeah. And I was all happy because I found my platoon. I just happened to run into the guy. He was pulling guard duty on the road, the main entry point, and he heard me walking. He goes, halt, who goes there? And he challenged me, and I recognized the voice. I said, Sean, is that you, Sean Pearson? Sergeant Comstock, and then we got married, that night. So, that was kind of my experience. But then what we did as a alert platoon, we weren't really doing any long range reconnaissance because the island's not that big. But what we did do is we inserted in some of the surrounding smaller islands around Grenada because we know the Cubans and the PRA, which is like the militia for that was in alignment with the Cubans for Grenada, had cached weapons and ammunition around these little islands, and they were going out and recovering them at night. They take the boats out there to pick them up, dig everything up, and they get weapons and come back and attack. And so we were actually setting up LPOPs, listening posts, observation posts, little 4 or 5 man recon teams, hunker down. We'd insert in the middle of the night. Nobody could see us. We'd hide in the jungle, lay there, and just watch and observe, right? And that's what we did. In fact, one of our teams made contact one night, and 2 of the guys that came out of it were the most decorated guys that came out of Grenada. They saw a boat landing, so 2 of them go, hey, let's check it out. They go walking down there, and when the boat had landed, I forget how many PRA it was, but probably 4 or 5. They did something actually tactically sound. They put a guy on left flank security and right side security. They put guys on the left and right, and then the guys in the boat got out and started digging up the cache. So they actually had left and right flank security. And our guys walked into the left flank security guy, and he opened up on him, shot him. They got in a big firefight. The other guys ran. They shot a bunch of those guys. They pulled the dead bodies in the boat, and they took off, and they got away. Well, they found the bodies the next day floating in the ocean, bullholes, and that my guys had, our RUP guys had killed. And then those same 2 guys, they were flying back in a helicopter, and there was a boat capsized in the water in the ocean. And they saw some kids out there floating around, right? Their fishing boat had capsized. So the Black Hawk circled back. It lowered they lowered a fast rope, and our guys fast rope down. Either fast rope or rappel, I can't remember which one it was now, but they roped down, and they literally grabbed the kids and plucked them out of the water. And one of the kids they pulled out of the water had a shark in his hand. He wouldn't get rid of his shark that he caught, right? So they bring him out of the water, and they rescue these kids. And so these guys got soldiers medals for that. They got bronze stars with V devices, Purple Hearts, they all kinds of crap for the stuff they did there. So they literally came out of there the most decorated soldiers out of Grenada, out of the 82nd Lurk Platoon. But that's what we did. Went out and basically surveillance, reconnaissance, and our job was to report, not necessarily engage like these other two guys did. But I'm sure we would have done it too had they shown up if it was a small number of guys. But that was basically our mission there. So that was really my first combat experience, and it was a pretty interesting experience. We stayed at the U.S. Embassy, which was nothing more than a villa on this like beach. It was really kind of cool, and it was abandoned, right? But we stayed there, and we hooked up a water truck to the water system. I remember, but that water truck wasn't a water truck; it was a fuel truck, and they dumped all the fuel out and put water in there. We were running that through the water lines and taking a shower in freaking water that smelled like JP4 jet fuel, And I still remember all that. It's like, this can't be healthy, right? We're taking showers in JP4 jet fuel and water, mixtures and stuff. But it was a good time, good experience. But that was the first time going down range in a combat role, so to speak. And then after that, I went to Panama, Modello prison raid, rescued Kurt Muse. Then there was Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Somalia, going back, Yemen, back to Iraq, Afghanistan, and there was some deployments that are classified that I can't talk about. But so I had a good experience, man. As a warfighter, and honestly, I enjoyed it.
What was the invasion of Panama like with Noriega and all of that? And you broke that. Was he a spy you broke out, or some? What was he? That prison?
No, his name was Kurt Muse. So supposedly he was a businessman in Panama, American businessman. He's in charge of a Rotary Club, really. And what he was doing was eavesdropping on the Noriega regime and government, right? Literally, they were using SIGINT to listen to what they're doing. They were jamming. Like Noriega would give a speech, and they would literally jam the signal so he couldn't get out over the radio and the TV station. People couldn't get the message, and they chased him for a while, and they finally caught him. He ended up in prison, and that's the guy we went to get, Kurt Muse. And so I remember I had graduated the Q course as a Green Beret on December 15th, I think, or something like that, 16th, got back to the unit. Started training. We were rehearsing for the raid. I got fragged during training, ended up on crutches, and 3 days later, we ended up going into Panama to do the rescue of Kurt Muse. And so we were the spearhead for the operation. Nobody knew we were there. And so basically H-hour was supposed to be midnight on December 20th. And we got SIGINT that said we had been compromised. The Cubans, I think it was the Cubans, maybe the Dominican Republic, others notified Noriega what was going of an impending attack. So he started shoring up the commandancia, Modello prison. They were getting their war footing, right? They deploying weapons and the soldiers. And so we actually moved H-hour 20 minutes to the right to 0020 hours. We had to because about 75 aircraft were in flight already from Fort Bragg, and Rangers going to jump in. And so there's a big signature in the air, and we could not change the H-hour because you got to turn all these airplanes around. They would get compromised, and then the gig is up. So all we could do, the best we could do is shift 20 minutes to the right, and we did. And we went in, and my job was to breach Modello prison from the roof down, breach the annex, explosively enter, and then basically kill the bad guys that were standing in our way and rescue Kurt Muse. We did. We got him out, crashed a helicopter, got shot down with him in it, recovered him, the rest of the crew, the rest of the teams, and then went back and did follow-on operations from there on, chasing Noriega around the country, trying to catch up with him. So You can read that whole story, by the way. It's kind of on the internet. It's on the History Channel, Discovery Channel. It's been declassified. I wrote it in my book, American Badass. It's called Carcel Modello. The chapters talks about what actually happened on the prison, on the roof, what I did, my part in it, and goes into a lot more detail than what I can explain right here. But it's out there. The information's out there, especially in my book. If anybody wants, if you want the book American Badass, it's on Amazon. You can get a PDF copy, a paperback, hard copy, or you can go to my website, Comstock.com, and message me there, and I can send you a PDF copy as well. For me, the salient point was the rescue of Kurt Muse. That was our initial push, is to do that, get him out of there, and then we executed the rescue. And as soon as we executed the rescue is when all the other aircraft came and started landing, dropping paratroopers, right? So we actually spearheaded the invasion. We needed an element of surprise to get in before anybody knew what was going on. But they already knew, right? They already been tipped off. It got pretty quiet pretty fast. Within, I'd say, 3 or 4 days, it was over, and now it's just basically rounding up the remnants, Panamanian Defense Force, they just kind of blended in with the populace, everybody suddenly became a civilian. So it started out pretty gnarly, but it ended really fast. We just overwhelmed them fast, and so not a whole lot to comment about on that one.
Was there any close calls? Like they ever shot? Like, did they ever get the chance to shoot at you? Like, it came that close, or was it like a?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, man. We're getting it on, man. I had bullets hanging by my head as I'm placing the breaching charges on the doors. Went inside. We had 100. We had 60 plus prison guards and another 60 plus Panamanian soldiers waiting for us on the bottom floor. They thought we were going to do a ground attack. They didn't know we were going to come in off the roof, so we actually were fighting downward. Dude, we lit them up, man. We blasted them inside the guard towers, the barbershop, the barracks, yeah, it was a raging firefight, man. In fact, all the power went out, and man, it was just a melee that night. There was just freaking people dying everywhere, people scrambling everywhere, and but we got in, we got out, except Kurt Muse's helicopter got shot down, and we had to do another rescue of that, but we got everybody out on that crash as well. We had some guys get shot up, get injured, but we didn't lose anybody on the assault force. Out of the 23 of us that went in, nobody was killed. We did have sustained some wounds and stuff like that, but we got everybody out. We did lose 2 helicopters. I believe H6 and H6 and a Cobra, I think, were shot down. And of course the MH6 that was carrying Kurt Muse went down in the street. But yeah, it was intense. It was an intense firefight for sure. But we got in, got out, and then like I said, everything after by day 2 just started to slowly kind of go back to some kind of normalcy, civility. Noriega was the main guy. Of course, he has all his generals are a bunch of thugs too, but they pretty much got their ass handed to them within 48 hours. Everybody, they were done real fast. By the time the Rangers landed, 82nd came in. We owned the country at that point, but. Yeah, there was one guy. He was Noriega's chief bodyguard, if you will, kind of like a henchman. And I remember when they fled to the Papal Nuncio, right? They held up there, and I remember they're all standing outside smoking a cigarette, looking up at us, looking down at them with weapons, and they were safe in the Papal Nuncio, right, for a while, anyways. But I remember the one guy, the head of the security detail for Noriega. I met him back in 2009, I think, is when I saw him again. I went back to Panama on business, and it just so happens that people I'm doing business with in politics, one of them was this guy. He was now the chief of national police. And so I actually got to be good friends with him. We sat down and laughed about the war, and how he tried to kill me and how I was going to shoot him in the face, smoking a cigarette, and we're doing lunch and stuff together, and as far as I know, he's still the chief of national police over there. I'm not sure, but anyways, I got to know him, but I thought it was kind of funny that, at one point we were, adversaries, and here we are having lunch together, talking shit. And, but that's not the first time that's happened, and I've met, people that were my enemy at one point. And once you get to know them, it's like, we're cool. We're not enemies no more. Maybe our governments are, but doesn't mean we are. It's kind of funny too, man. Here in Bali, right? There's a lot of Russians here now. A lot of Russians, Ukrainians that have fled from the war. They've come here and they've literally taken over. They call Bali Little Moscow now. There's so many Russians here. They're fleeing, right? So they come here and they start businesses. Some of them are illegal. Some are legal. Same thing with Ukrainians. But I see them every day. The Russians in the gym. Actually, the guy that has a business next door to me, he's Russian. He owns a company there. And we're cordial. It's like, I don't look at him like you're my enemy. It's like, you're not my enemy. Just because my government says so, your government says so, we're not enemies. We're just two dudes, business guys. We're not at war, and we're not going to have to treat each other badly. And that's kind of the reality of it. It's easy to get brainwashed in the idea that all Russians are bad. All Ukrainians are bad. All Nazis are bad. Well, I guess all Nazis are bad, but all Germans are bad. No, it's not true. Yeah. So I met him. Kind of interesting. I remember one night I met some people at a bar, and it was like 2 or 3 women and another guy. And we get in this car. I'm on business right now, and we're going to drive to another bar. I really don't know these people from Adam. I just met them. It's like, hey, let's go to this other bar. Okay. So we get in the car. We overload the car. Well, supposedly, right? I think we had 5 people in it, and so that's what the police use as an excuse to stop us. And like, oh, this is a problem. You got 5 people in this car. You should only have 4. And that's going to be a $50 fine each, right? So the guy was basically going to rip us off, right? We're going to pay him $250 to get out of jail type thing for having too many people. I mean, we didn't have too many people. That was his thing, right? Well, you got 5, don't you only have 4? And so everybody in the car is freaking out except me. Oh my God, I don't have that kind of money, and he's sitting there, tapping his fingers like, pay up. And I go, I'm not going to, no, hell no, wait a minute. I get out of the car. And I mentioned, this chief of national police, and I show him on my phone. I got the guy's phone number on it. I say, who this guy is right here? He's the chief of national police. This is his phone number. I said, he's my friend. I said, I'm going to call him real quick and make sure this is okay. Okay. That you can do this and this fine's proper. Okay. And as soon as I did, I said, oh, no, you're good. You guys are good. Go. So it got me out of trouble at least one night, but Panama's corrupt too, man. That's another third world country. That's just, fuck, man, all these third world countries are like that, man. We call it these banana republics, but I hate to keep throwing America under a bus, but in a lot of ways, our government's no better. The shit they do is on par with, everything I've seen around the world, particularly in third world countries, man, as far as the government's concerned. I'm not saying everybody in the government, I mean, there's some good people in the government. I actually know a lot of politicians. They're actually really good guys.
So what was it like being a mercenary?
So being in the military, in the army, there's kind of a hierarchy, like combat arms guys, they looked at going, hey, I want to be a ranger. And then the next level, I want to be a Green Beret. And then what's after that? Delta Force. That's like the pinnacle, right? So, the number of guys that make it to Delta Force are so small, it's almost ridiculous. There have been selection courses where only one guy has made it. They have 2 a year. In all services, only one guy makes it as a Delta Force recruit, right? Candidate. He's not even a Delta Force operator yet. My class, 110 guys started, 6 finished, 3 of us got recruited. I was the youngest guy at the age of 23 at the time to go to Delta, right? So it's very hard to get there, very difficult, very hard. So you think, well, that is really the pinnacle. Nah, well, I thought until later on, I got recruited by the Alphabet Company. Okay, I'm gonna say that for non-disclosure reasons, but the you can figure out who that is. And in a particular branch, again, that was even more exclusive, even smaller numbers. You did all kinds of really cool stuff, Jason Bourne stuff. So I thought that was the ultimate until I got the opportunity. And it's a long story how I got this opportunity, but I ended up on a mercenary strike team, and I had 11 guys, total of 11. And to me, that was the epitome of being a soldier, because here's the thing: when you're in the military, you're working for, DIA, CIA, all those people. You have all kinds of backside support. You got medical, you got air cover, you got this, you got that. You get in a jam, there's people that are going to come and help you, hopefully. Guess what? When you're a mercenary, this is you and the bad guys. And all you got is you and the guy to your left and right. my equipment, I remember, like when I went to Yemen, all our guns were literally from the bazaar. It's like used shit. I had a 30-year-old Chicom AK-47 Vietnam vintage shit, man. That was my freaking weapon, you know. I made my own equipment to carry my magazines. I was literally wearing weight training gloves, 511 pants, you know, a bandana on my head because I didn't have headgear. It was about as Spartan as you could get. We were no more better equipped than the bad guys. And who were the bad guys? Al Qaeda, ACAP, ISIS, Houthis. Who else did we have? The Houthis, ISIS, ACAP, and then there was the Yemenis resistance, but they were actually the good guys, but they weren't doing too good. They were getting their ass handed to them. Oh yeah, Muslim Brotherhood was another element over there. And so we're in street fights, literally with the same gear they got, nothing better. Only thing that separated us from them was our tactics, our training. That was the differentiator, right? But the problem was, like, for example, I remember one night we did hit a target, and it was 5 of us. One guy was an Arab. He was a driver. We didn't give him a gun, but he said, okay, you can drive us, but you can't shoot nobody. And he actually was the only guy that got shot, the guy without the gun. and so, but the rest of us, the 4 of us, were literally in a street fight in the streets of Aden with Al Qaeda. And had anybody gone down, seriously, like this guy could limp away with a gunshot to the leg, but if somebody got really shot bad, we were going to be in trouble because it's going to take at least 3 to 4 of us to carry one guy out and get him to safety. And there was nowhere to go. There was no close air support. There was no JMAL medical unit standing by. There was no quick reaction force to come and bail us out. It was just 4 dudes, 5 dudes in a street fight with Al Qaeda in the middle of the night in their neighborhood, and mano mano, let the best man win. And so to me, that was the ultimate. That was as good as it gets, because that's when you can really see what kind of soldier you are and what kind of soldier you're with. When you go out in a street fight with the same gear the bad guys have, and in their backyard, and you're outnumbered tremendously. It's only 5 of you, and you still can kick their ass and come out of there. That's where it's at, man. So if you want to know more about it, go look on the internet. Just look up my name and look in Yemen Ops. Now there's a lot of bullshit out there, from Reuters and others. They weren't there, okay, and it's hearsay their part. But if you go like SOFREP, SOFREP, I've done interviews with them, a couple other people. You can get the whole legitimate story. Like I said, October, November, BBC is going to come out with the story. I don't know what if they're going to flip the script on me. It might be something really negative, but I'm writing the book. I'm actually right now writing the book. I'm going to get that out in 30 days or less. It's a PDF copy initially, then it'll be an audio copy, and then it'll be a book. I'm going to get that out before the documentary comes out so people can actually read it. Because they tried to set me up. When I say they set me up, when they interviewed me, they kept using words like assassin and bombs. I go, no, I'm not an assassin. I'm a professional soldier. I said, I don't make bombs, I make explosive charges. Okay, let's get it right, And so there was a lot of that kind of shit going on, and maybe some of it had to do with semantics and the civilian vernacular. But for clarity, I said, no, I had to straighten that out. And that's why I'm going to write the book. So it's all in the book, exactly what happened and not. So if anything comes out in the documentary is inaccurate, at least the book will be out beforehand. Go, no, go refer back to the book for the facts. So yeah, to me, that was a great experience. You lived in austere conditions, very austere conditions. We lived in a tent in the desert, sleeping on cots, flies all over the freaking place, no air conditioning, eating literally fish heads and rice every day. That was food. Fish heads and rice. That was our food, man. Drinking water. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. We weren't there for fine dining or entertainment. We were there for war fighting, and that's the only reason we were there. So it was rough. It was austere. You lived in the dirt. You slept in the dirt. You ate shit. You ate, garbage. But it's that's the profession, man. It's not like in the movies. Guy goes back to his hotel room, and he gets all cleaned up. No, not in the ones I've been in anyway. So that to me was the ultimate. But yeah, so the military's went through a big transition. I still work with the military quite a bit post 2001 after 9/11. I got recruited by OGA, and so as a paramilitary operative. And so I spent almost 9.5, 10 years doing that line of work. Most of that time downrange. In fact, nine months out of the year I was deployed. You know, Afghanistan, Iraq, or other countries, and doing the same thing, running combat operations, usually in parallel, or somehow with the military. And I saw what was going on in the military. I got stories that would just make you cringe about the military. And it's not the soldiers' fault necessarily. It was the command structure, but it was also in some ways it's the new generation. I hate to say that, you're a young guy, but anyways, big changes. That's where we're at, and I think we're in big trouble.